The massive holographic display in the Galactic Alliance's Central Observatory erupted with alarmed chatter as the sensor readings defied everything the assembled scientists thought they knew about weapons technology. Chief Observer Zilara, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation, replayed the footage for the fourth time. The test firing of the human warship, designation TN's Hyperion, had just shattered every known limit of weapons capability in controlled space. Impossible, muttered First Coordinator Vextel, his four eyes blinking rapidly in sequence. Their civilization has barely achieved faster than light travel. These readings must be incorrect. But they weren't incorrect. The quantum-based weapons system the humans had casually demonstrated had delivered more precision firepower than anything in the Alliance's arsenal, while consuming barely a fraction of the energy. More disturbing still, the human vessel had shown no signs of strain or instability during the demonstration. Admiral Sarah Chen stood calmly on the bridge of the Hyperion, watching the alien observers through the ship's communication array. At 45, she'd spent half her life preparing humanity's defenses for potential first contact. Now that contact had come, she found herself facing not hostile invaders, but bureaucrats worried about humanity's excessive military capability. Admiral Chen. Zilara's translated voice carried a note of carefully controlled anxiety. Would you please explain how your species developed such advanced weapons technology without access to the Galactic Library? Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Chief Observer, humanity developed these systems out of necessity. Earth isn't located in what you call a favorable region of space. We've had to account for everything from solar flares to asteroid fields. Our weapons are simply an extension of our need to survive. In the Alliance's Emergency Council chamber, Ambassador Kira Patul was already preparing for the diplomatic storm she knew was coming. The daughter of quantum physicists, she understood better than most why humanity's technological achievements were causing such consternation among their galactic neighbors. Distinguished representatives, she addressed the gathering of alien diplomats, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I understand your concerns about the Hyperion's capabilities. However, I must emphasize that Earth has no aggressive intentions toward the Alliance or its members. No aggressive intentions. The Praxian delegate's translator barely kept up with his agitated clicks. Your species has developed weapons that could destabilize the entire balance of power in this sector. Weapons that violate multiple alliance treaties. Treaties, I might add, that you were not even aware of when you developed them. Kira maintained her composure, though internally she wondered how to explain centuries of human innovation, driven by isolation and challenge to species that had grown up with access to the Galactic Library's accumulated knowledge. Respected delegate, she replied, humanity developed these technologies in isolation, facing challenges that would have destroyed less resourceful species. We had no guidelines, no existing frameworks to follow. We simply did what was necessary to survive. In orbit above Earth, Fleet Commander David Rodriguez watched the diplomatic feeds with growing concern. The Hyperion was just the beginning. Earth's orbital shipyards were preparing to launch 5 more vessels of her class. Each represented decades of human ingenuity, determination, and the relentless drive to protect Earth and her colonies. Sir, his aide interrupted his thoughts. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Arcturus Research Station. They've detected something unusual at the edge of human space. Before Rodriguez could respond, Admiral Chen's secure channel activated. Her expression was grave. Commander, the Alliance observers have just detected the same anomaly. Whatever's out there, it's big enough to worry both our sensors and theirs. In the council chamber, the debate about human weapons technology was suddenly interrupted by urgent messages reaching multiple delegates simultaneously. Kira watched as expressions of concern spread across faces both alien and familiar. Perhaps, she suggested quietly to the chamber at large, this would be a good opportunity to demonstrate how humanity's capabilities might benefit the Alliance, rather than threaten it. The Praxian delegate's earlier hostility wavered as he studied his data feed. The anomaly. It's moving faster than anything we've recorded, on a direct course for the Centauri colonies. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the growing murmur of concern. Earth Defense Fleet stands ready to assist. The Hyperion can reach the location in 6 hours. That's 3 times faster than any other available vessel. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's excessive military technology suddenly represented the only immediate response to an unknown threat. Chief Observer Zalara's crystalline form pulsed with rapid color changes as she processed the tactical data. Ambassador Patel, she finally spoke, her translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of her native language. It seems we must choose between our regulations and our responsibilities. The Alliance has sworn to protect all sentient life in this sector. Kira nodded slowly, understanding the unspoken question. And humanity has sworn to protect all those who cannot protect themselves. The Hyperion and her crew await your decision. As the council chamber erupted in urgent discussion, Admiral Chen was already preparing her ship for emergency deployment. Humanity's first real test in galactic society would not be fought in diplomatic chambers or through technological treaties. It would be fought doing what humans did best, facing the unknown head-on, with every tool at their disposal. The Hyperion's quantum drives hummed to life, its controversial weapons systems standing ready. Whatever waited at the edge of human space would soon learn why humanity's warships were considered too dangerous for galactic combat. Not because of their power, but because of the unshakable determination of those who crewed them. The Hyperion's quantum drives pulsed with barely contained energy as it led the response fleet toward the anomaly. Behind Admiral Chen's vessel, 2 Alliance cruisers struggled to maintain formation, their conventional drives straining to match even half of the human warship's speed. They're falling behind. Lieutenant Maya Santos reported from her tactical station, dark eyes fixed on the sensor display. At this rate, we'll reach the anomaly 3 hours before our escorts. Admiral Chen nodded, her expression unchanged. The Alliance ship's limitations weren't surprising. Their entire approach to space combat was built around carefully regulated technological standards, standards that the Hyperion had unknowingly shattered simply by existing. In the ship's observation deck, Ambassador Kira Patel stood with Grand Marshal Engsathor of the Alliance Defense Force, watching the stars blur past at speeds his people had deemed unnecessarily dangerous for military vessels. The massive reptiloid shifted uncomfortably as another quantum pulse rippled through the ship. Your engineers claim this technology is stable. His translated voice carried both doubt and fascination. Perfectly, Kira replied, allowing herself a small smile. Though I understand why it seems otherwise. Humanity developed these drives through a rather unconventional approach to quantum mechanics. Before Engsathor could respond, the ship's AI interface activated. Admiral Chen requests your presence on the bridge. The anomaly has changed course. It's accelerating. In the Galactic Alliance's emergency session, the debate had devolved into barely controlled chaos. The Praxian delegates' earlier warnings about human military technology had transformed into grudging appreciation as real-time feeds showed the Hyperion's performance. They've achieved in isolation what our combined research teams failed to develop in centuries. First scientist Velmore admitted, her tentacles writhing with agitation. The question we should be asking is not how to contain their technology, but how they manage to advance so rapidly. Through reckless disregard for safety protocols, Elder Coordinator Zix countered, his ancient cybernetic implants flashing with alarm. Look at their history. Every major technological leap came from situations we would consider catastrophic failures. On the Hyperion's bridge, Admiral Chen studied the updated sensor data with growing concern. The anomaly had not only changed course, it was exhibiting signs of intelligence. Complex energy patterns suggested some form of faster-than-light communication. Analysis. She asked the ship's AI. Pattern matches no known Alliance signatures. The AI responded. However, comparing against Earth's deep space surveys, Similar energy signatures were detected at the edges of our solar system 50 years ago, just before we began our military expansion. Grand Marshal Engstthor's scales shifted color slightly, the equivalent of a human raising their eyebrows. You built your fleet in response to these signals. We built our fleet because we knew we weren't alone, Chen replied, her voice steady. And we had no way of knowing if our first contact would be peaceful. Humanity chose to be prepared rather than vulnerable. The tactical display suddenly flared with new data. The anomaly had split into multiple signatures, each one larger than an Alliance heavy cruiser. They were no longer approaching the Centauri colonies. They were moving to surround them. Battle stations, Chen ordered, her voice carrying the weight of years of preparation. Ambassador Patel, please inform the Alliance Council that we may have identified the reason humanity developed its military technology to such excessive levels. As alert klaxons echoed through the ship, Kira watched the Grand Marshal's reaction carefully. The Alliance species had developed in relatively peaceful sectors, their military technology evolving through careful cooperation and regulated advancement. They had never faced the kind of threats that had forced humanity to innovate or die. Your people, Engstthor said slowly, watching the tactical display. They developed these weapons, these ships. You were expecting something like this. Not this specifically, Kira replied, her diplomatic training warring with her human instinct for brutal honesty. But we knew that in an infinite universe, peace couldn't be guaranteed by regulations alone. Sometimes, survival requires the ability to face threats that don't play by established rules. The Hyperion's quantum drives surged as Admiral Chen ordered maximum speed. Behind them, the Alliance escorts fell even further behind, their crews watching in a mixture of awe and concern as the human warship demonstrated exactly why its capabilities had caused such alarm. Multiple contacts emerging from FTL, Lieutenant Santos announced, her hands dancing over the tactical controls. Energy signatures matched the anomaly. They're bigger than anything in our simulation databases. Admiral Chen's expression remained calm, but her eyes held the steel that had driven humanity to develop weapons that terrified their new allies. Send word to Earth. Tell them we found what we've been preparing for, and inform the Alliance Council that they're about to see exactly why human warships were deemed too dangerous for galactic combat. The unknown vessels began to take formation, their massive forms dwarfing even the Hyperion. But unlike the Alliance species who had recoiled from humanity's military power, these entities showed no signs of concern about facing a human warship. They would learn. The unknown vessels loomed in the Hyperion's forward display, their dark hulls seeming to absorb both light and sensor scans. Admiral Chen had seen enough combat simulations to recognize a predator's approach pattern. These weren't explorers or diplomats. They were hunters, and the Centauri colonies were their prey. Multiple energy spikes. Lieutenant Santos reported, her voice steady despite the tension. They're charging weapon systems we can't even classify. The Alliance database has no matches for these signatures. Grand Marshal Engstthor's scales had paled to an ash gray. Those formations, they're identical to records from the Great Collapse, when we lost the Orion sector. You've encountered these beings before, Kira asked, but she already knew the answer from his reaction. Not encountered. Survived. The massive reptiloid's translator barely caught his whispered response. They came without warning. Our regulated weapons, our standardized defenses, they were useless. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she processed this information. Lieutenant, send our first contact protocols. All frequencies, all known formats. Let's be certain they're hostile before we demonstrate why the Alliance considers us dangerous. The response came not in signals but in action. 3 of the massive vessels accelerated toward the nearest Centauri colony, their weapons charging. The others moved to intercept the Hyperion, clearly recognizing it as the only significant threat. No response to contact protocols, Santos confirmed. They're jamming all standard Alliance frequencies. Our quantum channels are still clear. Of course they are. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. They've never encountered human communication systems. Ambassador Patel, please inform the Alliance Council that we're about to violate approximately 37 of their combat regulations. Grand Marshal, you might want to brace yourself. The Hyperion's quantum drives pulsed once, twice, and then the human warship simply ceased to exist in normal space. The unknown vessel's targeting systems tracked empty void as Chen executed a maneuver that Alliance scientists had declared theoretically impossible. Quantum displacement successful, the ship's AI announced. Reconstituting in 3-2. The Hyperion reappeared directly between the attackers and the colony, its supposedly excessive weapons already charged. What followed would later be described in Alliance records as controlled chaos, a demonstration of combat doctrine that violated every principle of their regulated warfare. Multiple quantum point targeting engaged, Santos called out, her fingers dancing across controls that would have baffled Alliance weapons officers. Executing distributed strike pattern Alpha. The human warship's quantum weapons didn't fire in traditional beams or pulses. Instead, space itself seemed to hiccup around the hostile vessels as multiple points of reality briefly intersected. When normalcy returned, the massive alien ships showed the first damage their kind had suffered in centuries of raiding. Direct hits, Santos confirmed. Their shields are adapting, but they've never encountered quantum weaponry. They can't compensate fast enough. In the Alliance Council chamber, the real-time feed of the battle had silenced all debate about human military restrictions. They watched as a single Earth vessel executed combat maneuvers their entire fleet had deemed impossible, wielding weapons that defied their understanding of physics. Now we know, first scientist Velmora whispered, why they built such powerful ships. They were preparing for this level of threat all along. The unknown vessels regrouped, their formation shifting to something more cautious. For the first time, they showed hesitation in their attack pattern. The hunters had become uncertain, facing prey that bit back with unprecedented force. They're attempting to coordinate, the AI reported. Energy signatures suggest some form of collective decision-making. Good. Chen's voice carried the weight of humanity's long preparation for this moment. Let them learn what we learned long ago, that the galaxy holds dangers beyond their experience. Lieutenant Santos, prepare the primary quantum cascade. Let's show them why the Alliance thinks we're too dangerous for galactic combat. The Hyperion's hull thrummed as its most powerful weapon system charged, a device that the Alliance had declared fundamentally destabilizing to the fabric of space-time. They weren't entirely wrong. Ambassador, Grand Marshal Angsathor's translator, struggled to convey his mix of terror and awe. Your people developed these capabilities without knowing these enemies existed. How? Why? Kira watched as the quantum cascade began to alter the very nature of space around the hostile vessels, because humanity has always understood something that the Alliance forgot. Peace isn't maintained by limiting everyone's strength. It's protected by ensuring that those who would prey on others face consequences they can't predict or overcome. The unknown vessels began to retreat, their hunters' confidence shattered by weapons they couldn't counter and tactics they couldn't anticipate. As they fled, their energy signatures broadcast patterns that the ship's AI translated as alarm signals, warnings to others of their kind about the sector they had just encountered. Admiral Chen allowed herself to relax slightly as the threat receded. Send word to the Alliance Council. Tell them we understand their concerns about our military technology, but also tell them that now they understand why we built it. The Hyperion's quantum drives powered down to standard levels as the Alliance escorts finally caught up to their position. They had arrived too late for the combat, but just in time to witness the aftermath of humanity's first true military engagement in galactic space. It wouldn't be the last. The Alliance Council chamber had never been so quiet. The holographic replay of the Hyperion's battle floated above the central podium, showing every impossible maneuver, every reality-bending weapon discharge that had driven off the ancient enemy. An enemy that, until today, had been considered unstoppable. First Coordinator Vextel broke the silence. 3 centuries. For 3 centuries, those beings have raided our outer sectors at will. No defense fleet could touch them. No weapon could harm them. Then humanity arrives, with their excessive military technology, and drives them off in a single engagement. Admiral Chen stood calmly before the council, her dress uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's defense fleet. Beside her, Ambassador Kira Patel noted how the earlier hostility toward human military capability had transformed into something far more complex, fear mingled with desperate hope. The Alliance has always believed that regulating military technology prevents warfare. Kira addressed the assembly. Humanity learned a different lesson. True peace comes not from limiting everyone's strength, but from ensuring that those who would threaten peace face overwhelming consequences. Grand Marshal Enxthor stepped forward, his scales still showing the ash gray of shocked revelation. I have transmitted my full report on the engagement to the Council. The Hyperion's performance exceeded every combat parameter in our records. But more importantly, the vessel demonstrated perfect control of its capabilities. No collateral damage, no civilian casualties. Surgical precision with planet-killing power. In orbit above the Centauri colony, the Hyperion's quantum drives hummed at idle as Lieutenant Santos compiled the battle data. The ship's AI was correlating the unknown vessel's energy signatures with Earth's historical deep space scans, confirming what humanity had suspected for decades. "They've been watching us," Santos reported to Commander Rodriguez back on Earth. "Those signals we detected 50 years ago. They were scout ships. They saw us developing our quantum technology, our advanced weapons. They were studying us." Rodriguez's holographic image nodded gravely. "And now they know why we built these ships, why we pushed our technology so far beyond what the Alliance considered acceptable. We knew something was out there, Lieutenant, something that wouldn't play by the rules." In the council chamber, the debate had shifted from restricting human military technology to understanding it. First, scientist Velmora's tentacles writhed with excitement as she reviewed the Hyperion's technical data. "The quantum cascade weapon doesn't just attack its target," she explained to the assembly. "It temporarily alters the laws of physics in a localized area. The energy expenditure should be enormous, yet the Hyperion's systems show minimal strain. How is this possible?" Admiral Chen gestured, and a new hologram appeared. "The basic principles of human quantum engineering. We approached the problem differently. Instead of fighting against universal constants, we learned to temporarily rewrite them. Every human warship is essentially a mobile physics laboratory, capable of altering reality itself in controlled bursts." The council members murmured as they studied the display. What they had dismissed as reckless over-engineering was revealed as something far more sophisticated, the product of a species that had developed in isolation, forced to innovate without the constraints of established doctrine. "We propose an alternative to our current situation," Kira stated, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Instead of restricting human military technology, work with us to understand it. Let us help prepare the Alliance for threats that don't follow your regulations." Elder Coordinator Zix's cybernetic implants flashed as he processed the suggestion. "You propose to share this technology after we attempted to ban it, with appropriate safeguards," Chen confirmed. "Earth has no desire to destabilize the Alliance, but we've proven that our approach to defense has merit. The question is, are you willing to learn from those you sought to restrict?" The chamber erupted in discussion, but there was a new tone to the debate. The fear of human military power was being replaced by something the Alliance had nearly forgotten: the excitement of discovering a completely new approach to known problems. The Hyperion's quantum drives alone represent a fundamental leap in propulsion theory, Velmora noted. Combined with their weapons technology, their sensor systems, they've achieved things we thought impossible because we never approached the problems from their perspective. Grand Marshal Enxthor stepped forward again. "I propose the formation of a joint human alliance defense initiative, not to restrict human military technology, but to learn from it, to prepare for threats that our current doctrine cannot handle. As the council debated this proposal, Lieutenant Santo's voice came through Chen's secure communicator. "Admiral, we're detecting new signals, similar to the enemy vessels, but different. More of them. Much more." Chen shared a knowing look with Kira. They had both suspected this wasn't over. The first engagement had merely been a test. Now the real threat was coming, and the Alliance would have to decide quickly, maintain their comfortable restrictions, or embrace humanity's paradigm of peace through superior innovation. "Tell me, Grand Marshal," Chen addressed Anxithor directly, "how quickly can your best engineers learn to think like humans?" The massive reptiloid scales shifted to a deep blue determination. "How quickly can you teach them?" The quantum drives of human warships across the sector hummed to life, preparing for what was coming. The Alliance was about to learn why humanity had pushed its military technology so far, and why being too dangerous for galactic combat was exactly what the galaxy needed. 3 months after the Hyperion's historic engagement, the Alliance's central defense station had transformed. Where once orderly rows of regulated warships had stood patrol, now a new fleet took shape, one that merged Alliance precision with human innovation. At its heart, the Hyperion floated in high dock, surrounded by vessels gradually being retrofitted with quantum technology. Admiral Chen stood at the station's primary observation deck, watching as Alliance engineers worked alongside human technicians. The sight would have been unthinkable mere months ago. Now, it represented the galaxy's best hope for survival. "The first joint patrol fleet launches tomorrow," Lieutenant Santos reported, approaching with a datapad. 6 Alliance cruisers upgraded with quantum drives and basic reality warping capabilities. Not quite Hyperion class, but enough to make our visitors think twice. Chen finished. The enemy hadn't returned in force yet, but their scout vessels had been detected at the edges of Alliance space, watching, evaluating. In the station's quantum physics lab, first scientist Velmora worked alongside Earth's top researchers, her tentacles manipulating holographic models of spacetime with growing confidence. The Alliance's initial horror at human military technology had transformed into fascination as they began to understand the principles behind it. "It's elegant, really," she explained to Ambassador Kira Patel, who had come to observe the progress. "Humanity didn't break the laws of physics. They learned to bend them temporarily, locally. It's like creating a small bubble of alternate reality where different rules apply." "Necessity breeds innovation," Kira replied, watching as another simulation demonstrated how human quantum weapons could disable enemy vessels without destroying them. "We had to find ways to defend ourselves without knowing what we were defending against." The station's alert system suddenly flashed to life. Grand Marshal Anxithor's voice echoed through the corridors. "Priority 1 alert. Multiple signatures detected. They're back." And this time, they brought their fleet. The response that followed demonstrated just how much had changed. Instead of panic or hasty preparation, a calm efficiency took hold. Human and Alliance crews moved in perfect synchronization, their months of joint training paying off. "Battle stations," Chen's voice carried across all channels. "Quantum fleet, form up on the Hyperion. Standard fleet, maintain defensive positions around critical infrastructure. This is what we've prepared for." The enemy fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a display of overwhelming force. Hundreds of the massive dark vessels, far more than had ever been seen in one place. Their energy signatures pulsed with confidence, expecting to find the same regulated, predictable defense they'd always encountered. Instead, they found something new. The Hyperion led the charge, but it wasn't alone. Behind it, Alliance vessels powered up their newly installed quantum drives. Reality rippled as human tactical doctrine merged with Alliance coordination. Where once there had been by-the-book military responses, now there was controlled chaos, exactly as humanity had learned was necessary. Multiple quantum points established, Santos called out from her station on the Hyperion. Alliance vessels maintaining formation through quantum-linked space. Enemy fleet is. They're hesitating. They should. Thor rumbled from his command vessel. They're not facing the old alliance anymore. Show them what humanity has taught us. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. The enemy vessels, confident in their superior numbers, found themselves caught in a web of altered physics. Space itself seemed to fight against them as human quantum technology, wielded by both Earth and Alliance ships, rewrote the rules of engagement. They're breaking formation, Velmora reported from the defense station, her instruments tracking the quantum disruptions. They're adaptive shields. They can't compensate for multiple localized changes in physical laws. Just as we theorized. The enemy fleet's confidence shattered as their supposedly unstoppable forces met weapons they couldn't adapt to and tactics they couldn't predict. Ship after ship retreated, their energy signatures broadcasting warning signals to any others of their kind who might consider attacking Alliance space. In the aftermath, as the combined fleet regrouped around the defense station, Admiral Chen received a priority message from Earth. The Council had made its final decision regarding human military technology. They're not restricting it, Kira announced to the assembled commanders, human and alien alike. They're officially recognizing Earth's defense fleet as the foundation for a new joint protection force, the Quantum Guard. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she watched Alliance vessels power down their quantum drives that had, just months ago, been deemed too dangerous for military use. And our mandate? To defend Alliance space by any means necessary, Thor replied, his scales shimmering with pride. Using whatever technology required to maintain peace. The old restrictions are gone. Humanity has shown us a better way. As the station began repairs and the fleet settled into defensive positions, Lieutenant Santos approached Admiral Chen with one final report. Long-range sensors show no sign of enemy vessels anywhere in known space. We did it. We actually drove them out. For now, Chen replied, her expression both satisfied and determined. But they'll be back. And when they do return, she gestured to the combined fleet, where human and Alliance vessels floated side by side, each enhanced with technology that had once been considered too dangerous for galactic combat. They'll find that the galaxy has learned what humanity always knew. True peace isn't maintained by limiting our strength, but by ensuring that those who would threaten it face consequences they never imagined possible. The Hyperion's quantum drive hummed softly, ready for whatever came next. In the end, humanity hadn't just changed how the Alliance approached military technology. They'd changed how the galaxy understood the very nature of peace itself. Sometimes, being too dangerous for galactic combat was exactly what the galaxy needed to prevent combat altogether.